Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local.
There's no easy segue into the third item except to say that Google is
Antitrust and regulation.
yes. Google is a giant company, and so is Amazon.
So is Amazon.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
So go ahead.
I just wanted to highlight Miriam Ellis's excellent article that she wrote for us this week, which was really a sort of a conversation that she had with the owner of Raven Bookstore, Danny Kane, in Lawrence, Kansas, and just a really interesting piece about how he has sort of oriented his entire business around exposing the societal ills that Amazon imposes on all of us. And I found it interesting for a couple of reasons. The first was the anecdote that he shared, which sort of, pushed him over the edge to some degree of doing this with his business, where a customer came in and said, "Oh, I can get this book that you're selling for $26.99. I can get it for $15 on Amazon." Sort of asking him to sort of match the price, and he's like, "That's below our cost. There's no way I can do that." And so the first thing I thought of was, I don't know to the extent that it's possible. I know that Apple is very restrictive about what you can sell an Apple product for, because it's the same price on Amazon, Best Buy, and the Apple Store. And so I'm wondering, specifically in the case of books, why this hasn't, why publishers haven't sort of banded together to enforce the same price at a minimum across Amazon and their local outlets. There's still the issue of, same-day delivery and all these things that Amazon can do that Raven Bookstore probably will never be able to do.
And also ebooks.
And ebooks as well. But you could enforce the same price for an ebook as you do for a print book if you're the copyright holder.
So I don't know if you remember that Apple tried to help the publishers establish baseline pricing, and they were sued by Amazon for antitrust, and Amazon won that case. So that's
but
one
publishers
issue.
should be able to decide what they should be able to fix their prices on all platforms, just the same way Apple does, or Sony, or any other manufacturer.
Well, if they all agree in principle to that policy, that isn't necessarily whatever it would be price fixing. It's just they're just saying we're not going to allow
they're
our
fixing their
distributors
own prices. Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's not a collective thing.
So that struck me as one way that industries at least could band together to support local businesses. And then the second thing is Miriam highlighted a number of very specific tactics that Danny is doing to foster a sense of community at his local business, and I think leverage some of this sort of latent consumer interest in supporting local businesses. I mean, he makes it really tangible, right? He's hosting local events. He's partnering with other local institutions in Lawrence and the surrounding area to host festivals. Miriam highlighted his store kitties, cats that are at his sort of community reading area. So there's just a number of experiential things that he is doing that actually give him a competitive advantage over Amazon. And I think that's really the way to build consumer loyalty at the local level, to the extent that you as a local, not everyone's going to be able to do this, right? If you're a plumber, I suppose Amazon doesn't yet really provide plumbing services, but there may not be this notion of building community, is sort of not applicable to the same extent across multiple industries. But I just thought that Danny has done some really interesting things to actually play up his competitive advantage over Amazon that they can't possibly replicate. So
I agree. It was a really interesting and strong piece that she wrote, and interesting sort of to see those tactical things. It's in a way, it's kind of the same thing that a lot of large retailers are dealing with, trying to build better in-store experiences as a way to entice customers to continue to come in. I have some skepticism. I'm very sympathetic to everything in that article. I have some skepticism about consumer willingness to go any extra distance to support a local businesses. Some people, some percentage will, But a lot of people will take the path of least resistance, which for them is Amazon. And there was that piece about Amazon Prime, the Matt Stoller piece in Substack that was talking about how Prime actually raises prices for consumers because Amazon extracts, they do all kinds of things in the back end to compensate for that. But Prime is a powerful, it's probably the most successful loyalty program ever, and it's driving enormous value for Amazon, and there's a lot of inertia around it for consumers. And I'm guilty of it too. I mean, I'm getting packages every day from Amazon, even though philosophically I'm in the same boat as a lot of people. I want to support local businesses.
I mean, to some extent, businesses, I think, have evolved to understand that certain products can be value added. Books is one of those. You need curation, you need display, you need community. And if you enhance and embrace those things, bookstores are now on the increase and have been for about 3 years. Once B. Dalton went down and Borders went down, it left Barnes & Noble as the only bookstore standing. And they had problems. And an interesting article in the Financial Times where they are using many of these same tactics to recreate the ambiance of a bookstore by relying on the employees in the bookstore to add that value and to do that at scale. So to do it, they have to trust that employees love books, recommend good books, and they have some interesting techniques about how to display them. But their books lend themselves to that more than, say, laundry detergent or some other
true commodities, right? So, I mean, book.
Right. And to some extent, in the true commodity area, Amazon's providing a service, as is Walmart, getting a commodity to the end user as cheaply as possible. It's just a commodity, right? And so they're not evil in doing that. The problem is that they have such ambitions and they have to grow into all these other areas that they become detrimental to society at large.
Well, anyway, to end on a positive note, it just seems like, as we always try to do here on the Near Memo, it just seems like...
Which I continually seem to submarine, but I
Danny is holding his own, and I have actually never been to Lawrence, Kansas, despite driving across I-70 basically every summer as a kid. So I certainly look forward to visiting. It sounds like a great town where he's partnering with a lot of other similarly minded local businesses, and there's a real sense of camaraderie, and I think that is a model that can and should be replicated by local businesses across the country. So
I agree. And kudos to Miriam for writing a great
article. And this is something we want to do more of. We want to showcase these local businesses and their experiences and learn what's really going on in their world and on the ground and tactically. So look forward to more of these pieces. All right. And with that, goodbye for this week. Join us next week. Be sure to subscribe to Near Media, and thanks again for listening.
Thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.